The Pharaoh of the Exodus, by B R Mikhael. A little history on the pharaohs of Exodus. Of the 5 major historical periods of ancient Egypt, only 3 were involved with the history of the nation of Israel in the days recorded in the Pentateuch and historical books. A. The Middle Kingdom, 2000 to 1750 BC. B. The Second Intermediate Period, 1750 to 1570 BC. C. The Modern Kingdom, 1570 to 1150 BC. The Pharaoh of the Patriarchs. If we assume that the birth of Abraham was at approximately 2075 BC, and that he may have arrived in the land of Canaan around 2000 BC, then it would be reasonable to assume that his sojourning in Egypt, Genesis 12 to 13, would coincide with the reign of one of the pharaohs of the strong Exyth dynasty of the Middle Kingdom. By the time Joseph arrives on the scene, ca. 1855 BC, the reigning monarch is Amenemnes IV, of the same dynasty, who raised Joseph to the second position in the kingdom. About 15 years later, Jacob stands before the same pharaoh and blesses him. The Intermediate Period. The kingdom, however, soon deteriorated into disunity with a weak central authority. Just about that time, hordes of Asiatic Semitic tribes called the Hyksos invaded Egypt. They only managed to control the northern part of the country. Some authorities put the date of Israel coming to Egypt to this Hyksos period, 1750 to 1570 BC, on the assumption that only a Hyksos pharaoh, being Semitic, would have treated the Hebrew Joseph kindly. However, we read that the social climate of the time was such that the authorities despised the Hebrews, and would not even eat with them, Genesis 43 verse 32. The ethnic origin of the Hyksos made them unpopular with the Egyptians, and particularly with the strong princes of Thebes in the southern part of the country, who never did submit to their rule. By the year 1570 BC, Prince Ahmose of Thebes, with the help of the priests of the new religion of Ammon, rallied the Egyptians around him to throw the now weak Hyksos out of the country and establish the modern kingdom of the XVXX dynasty with Thebes, Luxor, as its capital. This could well be the new king of Exodus 1 verse 8 who knew not Joseph. The date of the Exodus. Most conservative authorities agree that the most likely date of the Exodus was not far from 1450 BC. Notice that 1 Kings 6 verse 1 gives the 4th year of the reign of Solomon, 968 BC, to be the 480th year from Exodus, placing the Exodus at about 1448 BC. Most historians give the date of destruction of Jericho to be about 1400 BC, in keeping with a period of about 40 years in the wilderness between the Exodus, ca. 1440 BC, and the Battle of Jericho. The Pharaoh of the Oppression. Assuming the date of the Exodus to be approximately 1448 BC, the great empire builder Thutmose III, 1482 to 1450 BC, would be the Pharaoh of the Oppression. He would have died while Moses was still in Midian, Exodus 4 verse 19. The Pharaoh of the Exodus. Thutmose's son, Amenhotep II, 1450 to 1425 BC, would then be the Pharaoh of the Exodus. There are no historical records of the plagues or the disaster at the Red Sea in any Egyptian monuments, but this omission is explainable on the basis of national pride. It is notable, however, that if Amenhotep II was in fact the Pharaoh of the Exodus, his firstborn would have died in the 10th plague, Exodus 12 verse 29. History confirms that his son who followed him, Thutmose IV, 1425 to 1412 BC, was not his eldest son. Other authorities make Ramesses II, 1301 to 1234 BC, to be the Pharaoh of the Exodus. There is no clear proof that this was the case, however. My friends in Christ, history is indeed his story. That the residue of men might seek after the Lord, saith the Lord, who doeth all these things. Known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world, Acts 15 verses 17 to 18.